So, Timberwolves fans, your team has been an absolute disaster. Disaster is the only word that I can use to describe what is happening right now for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And look, it does not help when your best player is like, has no filter and is, unlike going on podcasts, which is a bit worse for podcast P and all, but like is publicly talking about how much of a disaster your team is. But before we get on, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 5.9k by the end of the day. Right now, we got 15 subscribers today. Don't worry, lads. Yesterday was a bit of a blip. There will be 10 videos going up today. So if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are working. I am working non-stop. It's 5 p.m. right now. I'm working straight through till midnight to get 10 videos up for you guys. So anyway, the freaking Timberwolves. The Timberwolves lost again. And that's something that's been happening an awful lot for Minnesota. And they've honestly they just haven't been what they were expected to be. Like, the Minnesota Timberwolves were meant to be the best team, one of the best teams in the league. One of the best teams in the league. And this hasn't happened. The trade for DiVincenzo and Cat has been an absolute disaster. Like, such a bad trade. Because DiVincenzo has been poor. And Cat has been like, or it's not Cat has been poor. Randall's been iffy, but Cat's obviously was better, and Randall's not Karl Anthony Towns. And now you have got like Anthony Edwards out here publicly talking about it, and he said this about the team's fans, which is like mad. He said this. He said, Anthony Edwards on the Timberwolves. The fans effing booing us. That is crazy. We are being booed in our home arena. That's so our home arena. That is so effing disrespectful. It's crazy. Bro could not survive in a big market. I mean, they might not be wrong with that. They might not be wrong with that. Like, he's not. They're booing in a home arena. I mean, they do it a lot. And to be fair, we were saying more superstars should be publicly pissed off at the situation. I'm sorry, like, the Timberwolves, they traded Cat because they couldn't afford him. And also, like, to be fair, the fit of Cat and Gobert was actually starting to work out. They traded Cat because they couldn't really afford to keep them. And they also got themselves Donte DiVincenzo, who's a 15-point per game scorer and is meant to be this, like, really, really good player. And that just has failed. Like, the Timberwolves have not failed Anthony Edwards. This is a situation where it looked like it should have been an okay trade, and it's just been an absolute disaster. But you've then got what is it? This right here. And this is where it's like, they don't even need a team meeting. They don't even need a team meeting to be leaked by Shams. Anthony Edwards has just effectively gone out here and said, you know what? You know everything that was leaked in the Sixers team meeting? Yeah, that's kind of some of that stuff's happening right now. We don't even need a team meeting. Anthony Edwards says he feels like the Timberwolves have been growing apart and they can't talk to each other anymore. And claims everyone has their own agendas right now. Someone says that's what happens when management breaks up the team a year after a successful playoff run. Wolves shouldn't have traded their locker room leader, Cat. The problem isn't the Timberwolves. The problem is the freaking second apron. They had to do it. Otherwise you lose all flexibility. If you are over the second apron, you either need to be A, the Boston Celtics, where you've got your team and you're set and you don't need to make any trades, or B, you're turned into the Milwaukee Bucks, where you can't get your team any better. The second apron is the reason why they had to trade Karl Anthony Towns. Don't blame Minnesota for doing that. It was this damn second apron. They had to do something. And I think if you got off Cat, short-term future, they got what should have been the best possible deal for them. I'm sorry, that should have been the best possible deal. You got Julius Randle, an all-star power forward, and then you've also got yourself a Donte DiVincenzo, who everyone was super high on Donte DiVincenzo, though. Like, we can't forget, the Nova boys, DiVincenzo, one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA. And look, I bought into that. I bought into Donte DiVincenzo being one of the most underrated players in the NBA. In fairness, he was. I thought he was brilliant at Golden State. And obviously, Donte DiVincenzo was very, very good in New York as well. Like, he's been good. He is genuinely being good. The problem is, again, that we are looking at a situation where, like, a team is falling apart and it's happening publicly. I think at this stage, every team should have just cameras following them around, because the NBA soap opera is probably better than the NBA actual, like, basketball. And that's the reality of the situation. Is, again, the soap opera as much as anything. But the thing is that if the Minnesota Timberwolves were in the East, there'd be no reason to panic. What are they, around 500? Oh, wait, they're 8-10. So they are on a 4-game losing streak. They're 8-10. They're 12th in the conference. The problem is that, like, how far are they off 6? Like, they're only 3 games back from 6th. That's just kind of mad. It's just, the West is mental. Like, you don't have Boston or you don't have Cleveland, who somehow lost. Who's it? They lost to someone bad. Was it? Who did Cleveland lose to again last night? Oh, they lost to the Hawks. That was it. Reese Shea with 17 in that game, with DeAndre Hunter hooping off the bench. It is a bit of a weird one. Like, the Hawks 8-11. But, like, the West is just so stacked. It is honestly so stacked. Like, the Spurs are really good. The Suns are good. The Mavs are good, especially once Luka gets back. The Nuggets are currently 7th, but are 2.5 games off 2nd. They're only 3.5 games off 1st, and they're 7th. Like, it is really, really just... It's just a mental-held situation. And for the Timberwolves, it's not looking good. The team doesn't seem to have a leader. And look, Anthony Edwards is not that. Like, I like Anthony Edwards. I really, really like Anthony Edwards as a player. I like Anthony Edwards as a personality. But, like, Anthony Edwards is not a team's locker room leader. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. Is that Anthony Edwards is not... Like, he's not a team's locker room leader. He's not the guy that you want to have. He is still, even at this stage in his career, he's not mature enough to be that. But that's fine. That's fine. And, like, I think we get so, like, infatuated about people needing to be leaders. The reality is that if somebody's not a leader, that's completely fine. Like, Kevin Durant is not like one of the leaders. He can be one of the leaders, but he can't be the leader of your team. You need a leader beside Kevin Durant. But that's not a shot at Kevin Durant. Like, you just need to, if you have Kevin Durant in your team, make sure that you go and, well, build a proper team around him. And that's the problem with the Timberwolves right now, is you've got some young guys. You've got Gobert, who is the furthest thing from a leader. And then you've got Anthony Edwards, who is closer to being a leader than Gobert, but still not very close to being a leader. Either way, though, yeah, that is pretty much it. That is it for Ant-Man, and that's it for the Timberwolves. It's not looking good for you guys. If you're a Timberwolves fan, F's in chat.